Welcome everyone to the AMP 4-hour Enduro for 2021. Yes, racing is back. It's been over a year since I've been to a race or competed in a race, and now this weekend it's on. With only one heavy team, Driver's Ed is pretty much battling the entire field. With that, let's check in with Driver's Ed to see where they are at this stage of the race. We're at the 2-hour mark and it's time for my first stint. We're currently sitting P2, so let's see what I can do. If you've watched my racing videos from AMP before, you'll know that this pit stop looks a little different. There was major transponder issues at the beginning of the race, so the race director decided to have each team use only one cart for the entire race. And he's given me tips on how this cart handles.
So, you put your leg down for this spot, so you might want to have the pedal down a little bit, a little taller. The car has great power, you can drive the shit out of it. It really likes the hairpin. In the race, you'll have to get a feel for it, but once you find it, it's really good, and it's really forgiving on the hairpin. The seat might move back once, so be careful. Oh, it goes back? Yeah, you're good. Nothing for the road.
Well, because I was trying to get my weight in and listen to Matt, I couldn't really hear what he was saying through the helmets. I didn't hear him say to move the pedals up because the seat moves back in this cart. And of course, I tried to move the seat up in the pits. So as you see up here coming up on some of these hills, the seat's gonna move back. It really scared me for a second because you've got your arms where you kind of want your driving position to be, and then all of a sudden your whole body goes back and now your arms are really stretched really forward. It's hard to turn the cart. And of course, when you're sitting down going 50 miles an hour, you can't really adjust the pedals. So you're kind of stuck in this position. I tried to move the seat up on the straightaways, but that was kind of pointless because the seat's just going to move back in the corners, and I just decided to leave it, even though it was really uncomfortable. The cart handled really great. It had a lot of power. It really got up the hill great. The brakes, you really had to stomp on them, and eventually this cart has major understeer. It's not bad right now, but I guess because I was all the way back in the seat, all my weight's in the back, there's nothing up front. I'm having to turn the cart with fully outstretched arms. As you can see in the stint later on, it starts to get pretty bad with understeer just because I can't really turn the cart as much. And you'll start to see my driving style, the way I'm holding the steering wheel, drastically changes from how it is now to what it's going to be later. Let's go back and talk about the start. We had cart 15 and it was really great. Matt was way out front qualifying, but then they stopped qualifying three or 4 minutes into the session. We didn't really know what was going on. Trent told us in the driver's meeting that they had just gotten a brand new loop system, a timing loop system for the entire track, and with that they had to kind of mess around with the transponder positions on the cart. Before, the transponder was always on the right side of the seat on the back on the little seat pole, but now they moved the transponders up front in between the driver's legs underneath that plastic barrier underneath the steering wheel shaft. So it was really hard to get to that pouch. But during qualifying, they weren't getting any times. So they had to red flag the qualifying session. Tech got out there and drove a couple of laps around, couldn't get it to work. They switched transponders to the red bricks that we use at Audubon. So a guy drove basically holding a transponder in his hand and it worked. But you can't really hold a transponder in one hand and drive a cart with the other. So that wasn't going to work. So what they did, they put those red bricks in the pouches. We went out for qualifying again. I prayed that the transponders were going to work because I wanted to race this Enduro in the normal way we do it. There was only one cart that did not pick up any time, so they had to ditch the whole transponders. Trent came up with this last minute idea, which now in hindsight didn't really work that great. So each qualifying driver drew a number out of a bucket. Whoever had number 1 got to pick any cart for any other team. So basically you can choose any cart for whatever team you want. Then number 2 picks a cart for any other team. And it kind of went like that until everybody had a cart. And then you kept that cart for the entire race. Well, the reason why I say it was not a very good idea at the time, because it basically ended up being sabotage for everybody. We practiced the day before, and we wrote down a whole bunch of numbers from the carts that we drove. We didn't really have that issue as far as picking a bad cart for a team. Matt's strategy was he was going to pick a good cart for somebody, and hopefully that would catch on and people would be picking good carts. Well, other teams, they started picking bad carts for people, and it basically became sabotage. And in fact, at the end of the race, I don't think there was a single team that finished in the cart that they were given. More on that a little bit later. So we started with cart 16, I believe. It seemed to be fine. Matt started the race. It was good. He was out there for 30 minutes, and the next thing I know, I'm on the balcony. I look at the downhill, and he's running up the hill. Like, he's out of the cart, running up the hill. The cart, I don't know what happened to it. He never told me what happened. The whole thing just broke. He was out there for 30 minutes. They gave him a new cart out there. I was rushing to get ready because I didn't know if I was about to get in the new cart. Anyway, they drove a new cart out there. He got in it. It was already fueled. So he just stayed out. It was cart 20. 20 was the cart that the first place team started with. They had cart 20. They were moving pretty good in it. I look up and I see them kind of pull off to the side, talk to a marshal. I think they had something bad with it. They got a new cart. They got cart 7. Cart 7 was great in practice. They drove one lap. They pulled over. They got another cart. They got cart 14. They stayed with cart 14 the entire race. So something was up with 20, something was up with 7. We got cart 20. So I was thinking, man, that's so weird. Like, why did they pull over and get another cart, and now this cart's available? When I finally got in it, the seat was moving back, and I thought that was what the issue was. I mean, obviously, who wants to drive a cart where the seat is not where you want it to be? You're not comfortable in it. You got to be in these carts for at most an hour. So that's just not very comfortable. That was my reason why I thought they had switched. After the race, I talked to them. They said an entire wheel came off, which caused them to get another cart. So I guess 20 was fine. They put another wheel on it. We got cart 20. 20 was good. It had a lot of pickup in the downhill, as I said earlier. The only issue for me was the seat. I could get used to the brakes, and I think the understeer was caused by the seat all the way back. So at times during this race, you'll see me try and lunge forward, pick up the seat strap, and try and move my body weight forward to get that seat up. But I know eventually it's just going to come right back, so I just ended up leaving it. The understeer was so bad for me that by the time I pitted, I told Matt that we needed to switch carts because this cart is horrible. A, it wouldn't turn at the end. There were no brakes. The seat was moving back. We just needed a new cart. I'm such an optimist in life that I was thinking, well, we'll just get any cart we get will be better than this, and maybe we can get a run on first. Because here's what happened with first place. When their wheel came off in cart 20, they pitted. They got cart 7. They pitted again and got cart 14. Well, the problem was we were second at the time. We were 5 to 10 seconds behind. Where they came out on track was the crucial point of this race. They came out a half a lap ahead. So we're on the same lap, but now they're a half a lap ahead, and the distance to close that, you just couldn't do it in 4 hours. So that pretty much told the race right there. And we told them, okay, on AMP's part, they've never run a race like this before. It was their first time managing a race like this where everybody keeps the same cart, which is why I said now it probably wasn't the best idea to do this. But, what are we going to do? We all came here to race. The transponders aren't working. They got to come up with something. Ideally, it sounded fun, but in the end, it probably wasn't that great of an idea. Anyway, they've never run a race like this before, and it's very hard to put a cart out on track in the same part of the track where you are in relation to them. So they're out there, they're a half a lap ahead, we're second, and here this is me in the cart trying to gain any ground, even though I know it's very hard, because apparently they got cart 14 and they just took off. They kept that cart the whole race. It must have been amazing. We never drove it in practice. So anyway, cart 20 is what we got. And so when we pitted, I was thinking, man, anything's going to be better, right? If we get in the better cart, maybe that's going to help us close this gap up a bit. Well, I told Matt we needed a new cart. I didn't know that this was going to be my only stint. Since Matt had that breakdown 30 minutes in, he got a brand new cart. He drove for another hour and 30 minutes. So this is why I'm in the cart, my first stint, at the halfway mark. He drove 2 hours. So I didn't know that this was going to be my last stint, because we needed another pit stop to close out our pit strategy. And I basically got in the cart, drove one lap, and he got in and finished the race. So he pretty much drove, the majority of this Enduro, which is fine. But if I'd have known I was only going to be doing one lap, I probably would have not suggested change carts, because he knew this cart. He liked it. We got in cart 21. Okay, cart 21, Memphis Mafia, the heavy team, our friends, Andy, breaks down in cart 21. I guess they got it fixed, because when we pulled in, I said, hey, Matt, we need to change carts. They gave him 21. Andy was mesmerized that 21 was even functioning again. So we got 21. It handled completely different than 20. The brakes were super touchy. It really hooked. It really turned left well. So like, it hooked the double apex in the back. It hooked the last corner well. The thing it did not do was nail the downhill turn. It was horrible in the downhill turn. And I don't know if that was what caused us to finish where we finished, because if we had 20, we probably would have secured P2. In the last 10 minutes of the race, we got passed for P3. What are you going to do with a race like this? I've never run a race like this before, so now looking back on it, it was very hard. If it was the conventional way, we probably would have run away with it, because we were really good in 15, and just because we know our strategy here, we probably would have won the race. But that's woulda, coulda, shoulda. We got P3, and we probably would have scored P2 had I not told Matt to change the carts. But anyway, and because there's only 10 teams out here as opposed to what we're normally used to, which is about 20, there's a lot of clean air, and there's hardly any traffic. So my stint's almost up. Stick around at the end for the driver ceremonies and some great news that's coming to AMP. All right, let's close out this 4-hour Enduro from AMP. Here I come down into the pits to make my pit stop in the stop box, and then go around this little curve here. They moved the second pit stop box up a bit, so I'm going to stop right here, and then I'm going to pull into the breezeway. This is where I tell Matt we need to change carts. So we pull in, they're going to fuel. I'm telling him right now we got to change carts.
It won't turn. The cart won't turn, and the seat's all the way back. The seat keeps sliding. That's what it is.
So Matt's getting in cart 21, and I'm gonna go weigh in.
Driver's ed. The seat was all the way back. I was driving like this. I couldn't. Tell them the seats got firm? No, I just said we got to get in a new one. And the understeer was crazy. I mean, I came out of the pits. First came out of the pits and got me, and he was gone. So I don't know where we are. We're P2. That's why my times were so slow, because I couldn't. I was doing this. That's racing. With these crappy carts.
That pretty much does it. Matt did not have a GoPro, so we didn't really get the majority of the race. You only get one stint. That was it. All right, let's go to the results for the AMP 4-hour Enduro. We did secure P3. It was a fun race. Those guys were fun. I think the second place guys, they've been there before. I'm not sure who the first place guys were. Matt was saying that they had raced us before in some of the other Enduros. So let's go to the final overall victory and check out the winners. In P1, you've got Who's Your Daddy in Light and Memphis Mafia in Heavy. P2 is Help, It's Cold Outside. And rounding up P3, Driver's Ed. Now let's see the rest of the results. As you can see, Memphis Mafia, the heavy team, they moved all the way up to 7th overall. Pretty good. I hope you enjoyed watching this 4-hour Enduro for 2021. We will be back at some point in the summer for some of the longer races. And the good news is AMP is about to get a double fleet of brand new CRG carts. And the next time you see us at AMP, we will be in the new CRGs. I'm really looking forward to that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the track.